How is it going? We are back with Talking Ball with Steveospeak, and Underdog just dropped 3 tournaments today, so very exciting. We'll talk about them a little bit. We'll talk about the Schnauzer, which we'll rip first, and if we get enough legs, we'll do a couple more drafts, whether Schnauzers, maybe some Poodles. We can mix it up. So, anyone want to get in the lobby, we'll give it a couple minutes before we get into the first draft. But very excited to see Underdog launching 3 tournaments. Three different styles: the Poodle $7 tournament, the Pitbull $20 tournament, and then the Corgi single entry $5 tournament. That's the one that's a little bit different. Only get paid off for getting into finals. So I'm glad it's only single entry. Last year they did those more multi-entry, and I wasn't a big fan of those. But we'll see. I will definitely probably do the single entry, but not sure how many of those types of tournaments I will do. Let's check on some comments here. Who Hames is in the chat? How's it going? Mike Robb, Steve doing a midday stream to get those views from Lonely Housewives. You know it. You gotta find your audience. Got Candyman in chat. What's up? We got my favorite sister. She is my only sister, but still my favorite in chat. So I'm glad everyone's in, and we will get in a Schnauzer in a minute. I will count it down from my phone. Candyman, big fan of these tournaments. Poodle is definitely one of my favorites. And also, I mentioned this on Twitter. I'll just talk about this for a minute. The Pitbull, $20, 10 max entry, $200 to max it. Still, you have very similar, exact same number as the Sprint. Very similar to a BBM, and you have a chance for a 6-figure payday with much better advance rates. Also, if you make the finals and you max, so you did the $200, you get $500. So you get 2.5 times your money, which is a nice little added bonus there. So if you just get one team through, which is much easier to get through than say a BBM, you are going to get really good ROI. Even if that was the only team that made the playoffs. Hopefully you're making more than one playoff team and have a couple shots at it. But I like these kind of tournaments, kind of similar to how the German Shepherd is to the puppy. Similar $5 tournaments, but you get paid off better. That one you double your money if you just make the playoffs. But I like them doing similar style of tournaments to some of their big field ones. I'll be interested to see last year kind of the Schnauzer played that role versus the Pomeranian. I'll be interested to see if they do that vice versa, where the Pomeranian $3 versus the big 20 max Schnauzer. We already have the second one of those going right now. But anyone who wants to join, I will get on my phone and enter into the Schnauzer, and we will do our first tournament of the day. Hoping to do at least 2, maybe 3 today. Depends on how everything's going in chat, how time's going. So let's get in there from my phone to make sure. Don't have a location error, because that is never fun. All right, Schnauzer 2, we are at 86% filled. I have 7 more that I need to do. We're going to do the 20-second clock. I'm going to enter in 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Enter. And we are one more to start. So hopefully you guys got in quick on that. And I will bring it up over. And we are drafting soon, so now I need to find it. There we go. Mike Robb got in with us. Nice. Good seeing you, Mike. He's in the 9th spot. I'm in the 10th spot, so I think we'll have some sniping going on. Don't recognize any other names, but I did want to mix up the tournaments from doing the super flexes yesterday, and obviously made the promo before the Poodle came out. We might do the Poodle next if that's what anyone in chat wants to do. Thank you, Mike. Yeah, I still have some of the winnings from my good season, and I took some out, but have just been playing it down. And um, you know, as far as I can tell, I saw a lot of people got an underdog deposit bonus, which like I'll redeposit and get some free money anytime. But if underdog's giving it away, but I didn't get one. I got one last month, so maybe it's going to alternate months for some people, things like that. But hopefully, those out there were lucky to get it. Looked like a good bonus from what I saw some people talk about on Twitter. And yeah, I like Underdog doing that more and more. Drafters is doing that. It's only very small every month, but essentially you're getting like a free entry every month to Drafters big contest, which is nice. If you just deposit $20, you get $20. That's like a buy one, get one, along with their other deals. But glad to see Underdog is doing that and seemingly more this year, just to, get some incentive for playing on their platform, which we all like and we all enjoy, but it's nice to get a little back. How's it going, Nick? Good seeing you in here. Get it every month. Gotcha. Snowman's in here. Nice seeing you. Yeah, I know. I've heard that it's more about pick'em states. That I'm definitely in a pick'em state last month. But I don't know what their process is. I honestly wish they were a little bit more open about that. And even if it was a smaller amount, like I said, Drafters is doing, why not make it the same for everyone around the board? 10th spot here. I'm going to go Nico. Do like, any of these guys at the top, but Nico just has the ability. He stays healthy. He can separate. He can be a number one. See, Fantasy Football Garage. I don't hit the promos in Texas. Yeah. And I also, like I'm in Virginia. I know I got it before. I got one in I think February, and I got one in last month. And I know some of it might be due to state regulations. So some states that don't get them at all might simply be that, that is an issue. And that's why obviously Underdog is not in every state, because not every state supports, best ball and all that. Crossface, I thought you'd appreciate that. Yeah, I worked on that a little before jumping on, to make sure I figured it out. And looks like I did. So that's a positive. Coming up on one pick, we are going to go. I do have Lad ranked higher. I know by ADP it's a little bit more of a reach, but I have Lad ranked right here, and I do need to update my rankings to download. But I will take that Week 17 stack, Houston Chargers, all the fun there. I think we're talking about two number one receivers, guys who can really outperform their current ADPs, particularly if Nico stays healthy. And just, I love talking about Neighbors and Brian Thomas as well, but if you just watch the tape, look at some of the more advanced metrics, McConkey was right there with them, albeit with better quarterback play. But I just think there's every reason to assume that he just gets better and better. So I like, as much as I like some of the running backs that were there, I don't mind, especially when you're in that Week 17 stack, doing the Nico Lad pointed up. Let's see here. Mike Robb going Neighbors Henry. That's definitely strong as well. Malik Neighbors, it's amazing what he did last year, like a 34% target share. Wouldn't be surprised if that goes down a little bit, but his quarterback play, and I think the offense in general, is just going way up. So it's going to make up for anything he lost. And of course, he also lost 2 games due to 2.5 games due to a concussion. So, if he plays a full 17 games, and of course 16 during the fantasy season, boy, it could be really fun for Neighbors. Oh no, Mike. We just updated them. When I said update my ranks, I meant download them for Underdog. I've not downloaded them in a couple weeks. So yeah. So if you see my rank, it's definitely not what I have currently live on our Fanspeak Substack. $34.99 one-time single year payment. For the whole year. You have rankings, you have articles, you'll get some sub-only shows, and we're going to keep looking to add and build that as well. Let's see, coming up here in one, I'm not the biggest Kyron fan. I'm going to take Josh Allen. This is the thing, when I'm on the 3-4 turn, Allen and Lamar are just so tempting, because I think from a value standpoint, they should go higher. They should go more 2-3 turn, closer to there. That's kind of near where I have them ranked early in the third round. And so to me, they're just such value at this back end of the third, early fourth round. And I'm taking an elite quarterback, whether I go 3, at least get one more obviously good one. I like what it allows. And the one interesting thing about Allen and Lamar, they are the only 2 people on that bye. So it's not like they box you out of a bye, like if I was building for some other team. And I'm going to stack Allen with James Cook. That's part of the reason I chose Allen over Lamar there. I need a running back. Get James Cook, get so much of the offense and touchdown equity from the Bills offense, which should be top 5 in the league. I think we all believe that. And, I'm not worried about a James Cook holdout. Talked about it a little last night on the show. Somebody mentioned James Cook, and he's a, not an elite back, but easily could be a top 10 back again. I think we're getting him in a little bit of a discount. I know his touchdown rate was way higher last year than it was the previous years, but again, they changed their offensive coordinator, changed their offensive system. I do expect Josh Allen to pass a little bit more, maybe have more passing touchdowns, but that's not necessarily negative. James Cook, he's very good out of the backfield and can be a weapon there. So, I have no problem with him going where he's going. And I actually like him, for instance, better than some of the other running backs in this range. Honestly, I like him better than Kyron. Breece Hall, I think it's roughly about the same. It's just the offense. One's going to be top 5 offense. Jets might be, 15 to 20 offense if we're lucky. Amari Hampton, he's definitely splitting work with, at least some with Najee. I want him some because I really like him as a prospect. I really like him as a player. I do worry that could be a pretty even split. So it feels like a high price. Like, it's interesting. Harvey got competition. Mixon got competition. We've seen both their ADPs drop. Hampton's had competition all along, and his ADP hasn't really dropped. I think it kind of started this time around 42, 40 once we get post-draft. But, I think it's maybe even more likely that he's splitting. It's more even split in play for the Chargers than it is those other situations. Oh, I am not showing I need to show. Sorry, I will show the draft board after my next picks. GM, Chad, and Bindles. Good seeing you guys. Glad you're in here. Caught Chad's show earlier. Wasn't able to get into the second draft. Almost got in, but that was a fun stream. And I know he, was talking about doing Schnauzers also, but he was doing BBMs this morning. So this is a Schnauzer. We'll see what I do for the next draft. Probably a poodle, but we'll see what the people want. Mike, not a fan of showing up the board, but I will do it after this pick. Let's see. Zay Flowers there. I am lower on Zay overall. I'm going to go Kenneth Walker. Would consider Rome and Harvey as well, but Kenneth Walker, another situation. I think we just assume that Seattle's offensive line is going to be as bad as it was a year ago. They had a lot of injury issues. Hopefully their bookend tackles are a bit healthier this year. And also the addition of rookie Gray Zabel. I also like the offense coordinator to Clint Kubiak. He was very good for Kamara, and just the offense in whole for the Saints. Saints just couldn't stay healthy. So we will see what it comes back here. But I like this pocket of receivers. Could even go another running back. Rome would have been my pick, but I'm going to go Chris Godwin here. I just think the Bucs offense is just so good. You look at what, I know Liam Cohen's gone, but you look at what Baker did last year, and he did it without his weapons. Kate Otten, McMillan, Mike Evans, almost 3+ games, three and a half games or more. And then Chris Godwin missed over half the season. So, and yet Baker threw 40+ touchdowns, one of the leaders in yards, just an incredible year. Now his weapons are healthier and deeper, more experience with guys like McMillan. I will always be looking for some Bucs exposure. Left Flowers to test you. It was a good test, and I passed. They need more than Zabel. I agree with that, Who Hames. No, I agree they need more. Their offensive line, I don't think it's going to be elite. I think there's a lot of offensive lines out there that we project better due to the hope of better health. And there's a lot across the board, like Giants. Like we need, if Andrew Thomas isn't healthy, Giants offensive line might be the worst in the league. If he's healthy, though, that's an elite left tackle. Same with the Vikings. Is Darisaw back? Because, a lot of people talk about the Darnold issues. They forget Darisaw missed half the year, 6 games at least. I will go to the draft board to see how things are going. And just take a quick look at Mike Robb's team. Malik Neighbors, Mike Evans, DJ Moore, Jalen Waddle, and Henry and Connor. Pretty good start there. And I don't think anyone else is in the chat in this room, but no super surprises. I mean, Burrow going before Hurts, but getting his getting his triple stack. So I definitely get it. Though one could argue that would be more likely for Burrow to come back. But when you're investing that much, get your guy. Sure, could it have been fun for him to take a Pickens or Hampton or Kittle and then try and get Burrow here? Yeah, I get it. But at the same time, he has the Bengals offense, and that is going to be a very good offense. So I'm never going to mind that. A little worried about the 49ers offense line. Yeah, and they lost Jalen Moore. They're back up to the Chiefs. I agree. That is another one. If Trent's their offensive line is fairly solely to the health of Trent Williams. Seattle, they were very banged up. Not only were their starters banged up, they had multiple backups who missed some time last year. Rams were another one. They were, and one was due to a suspension, but at one point they were down like 4 starting offensive linemen. Steelers were down 3 at one point. And injuries happen. We know this. But some of these teams were, if offensive line health goes their way, be in a much better situation. You look at a team like the Eagles. Typically, they've been very healthy along the offensive line. They're also a deeper team in that regard. I'm going to go Aaron Jones here. I don't have a ton of Jones. I don't mind taking him. I think due to the ADP difference, I like Mason versus Jones, the couple round discount, but I do want Aaron Jones some. I just mentioned Darisaw is back. Talked about last night. Vikings totally reshaped their offensive line, getting Darisaw back, Brian O'Neill at right tackle, getting 2 Colts players, starters and good starters in Fries and Ryan Kelly, and then first-round pick that could be one of the top 5 units in the league. So Downs and Mooney went. I was hoping one of them would be there. It's all good. Again, I feel pretty strong at start at wide receiver or another starting running back. There's still some guys out here. I'm going to go Cooper Kupp. TJ Hawkinson's tempting, but I will go Cooper Kupp here. Again, just another guy I want some exposure to. I don't love the price, but in a Schnauzer, I'm a bit more willing to go down that path. Reflect the Sun, good seeing you. Trent turns 37 in August. Yeah, he's an old man, particularly in terms of offensive line. Amazingly, when he's on the field, he's still absolutely one of the best offensive linemen in the league. But yeah, how long can he stay in the field? And yeah, Huhaim's right there with it. Are you doing much Hawkinson? I find myself with a lot somehow. Yeah, that is a range, I think in part somewhat due to how I build. Like I'm either hitting back at running back there, not Brian Robinson, who I'm famously out on, but they're just some of these other backs there, or some of these receivers, like Pittman, Downs, Mooney, those types of guys. If they're sitting there, I'm probably taking them above Hawkinson. But I've been trying to get more Hawkinson because I do love Kevin O'Connell's offense. He just produces good production, and I believe JJ McCarthy, there's a little risk there, but I think he's going to be fine. Also, you look at Hawkinson, he came back and he just got taken. I would have pulled up the stats, but he had no touchdowns last year. He's a guy that can, look at what it took to be a top 10 tight end last year, 600 to 700 yards, 60, 70 catches, but it really came down to touchdowns. That's why Freiermuth was there. That's why Ertz was there. It's, you get 6 to 8 touchdowns, you're going to be in the mix for that. And Hawkinson is better, just more talented than those guys, and in probably a higher volume offense. So if the touchdown swing back his way, not only can be top 10, he could be top 5. So yeah, you pay a little bit more for it, but the upside is higher. Got our guy Jamie in chat. How's it going? Glad you're here. Coming up in 5 picks. This is definitely an area I could pull up a tight end. I saw Ingram already go. I would have probably looked at getting Ingram, Mark Andrews, Kelsey are in the mix. A few receivers to get a 5th because we start to hit the wall coming up. I don't think I'll go back to quarterback here. And maybe Cam Scatteraboo is there. I'm guessing Mike is going to, either take him or for the bit, let me have a shot. I will say Justin Fields is always tempting. An Allen Field start is very interesting. It's just I do have Herbert and Stroud built up for later. So I'll pass on Fields. Fields is my second highest quarterback. And I am going to go with Mark Andrews. I just want good pieces of good offenses. If Scadaboo's there at 111, I will take him. I already have 3 starting running backs, so didn't feel totally pressing. So we'll see what comes back to us in a couple of picks. Caleb and Fields go. Bateman goes. Yeah, that would have been another guy on my short list. Yeah, Jamie, I am going to be doing a lot more shows on my own. Meg and I will still have our sibling showdowns, and she'll still have some other shows. And they're just going to hand me. I mean, it's so tough with Keon Coleman there and the stack. Yeah, I'm going to go Cam Scadaboo. I will backstack Josh Allen. I will take my guy Cam Scadaboo. Obviously feeling really great about this running back room. 1-4-4-1 through 10. I think that's a strong start. Always allows a game to get his men. Yeah, but to answer Jamie, did my first show last night solo, and I will be having guests on at times going forward. Probably going to be doing 2 to 5 shows a week, depending on the week, my schedule, what it's like. Sometimes they'll be middle of the day like this. Sometimes maybe it'll be, maybe right after Chad Candle's morning streams to get in on that action. Sometimes it'll be later at night like I did last night, just kind of depending when I can fit in my schedule around some other shows. And also, yeah, definitely going to get guests on going forward, so around their schedules as well. So let's take a quick look at the board here. The quarterback run happening right now. Hopefully I don't know if I'll get Herbert back, but hopefully at least Stroud back. But yeah, I mean, this 8, 9, 10 window of quarterbacks. Yeah, Herbert goes early. Not totally shocked. But this 8, 9, 10 window of quarterbacks is just so strong. And yeah, we'll see. Overall, definitely debated there to take the Keon Coleman, but like Chad says here, Elijah Moore is even another option. Meg was concerned with the show. It's Circle the Life and Times of Cam Scadaboo. It very well could be. And it could come with a restraining order. Jamie, yeah. No, it's a fair bet. I know Cody off the Schneid is very much on it. And it's interesting because early in big board season, I was taking some Elijah Moore really cheap, even more so than, not more so than Stephon Diggs, but kind of around the same range. I was taking all these free agents, and Cooper and Keenan are still famously available, but Elijah Moore was younger. He's even younger than Slayton, who got a nice little payday to go back to New York, but just got no market. I mean, cheap 1-year deal, crowded room, but it's also not the most talented room. It is just weird taking him when Josh Palmer got way more money than he did, and more, higher draft capital initially. Kind of showed out a little bit last year. First time getting top tier quarterback play next, with Allen. So there's definitely a good thesis for it. Geez, Jared Goff is there. I do not have any Lions. I will take Trevor Lawrence though, and we will see if I can backstack Lawrence, but I wanted a quarterback, not sure what, and with Ronnie Football only having one, figured he's taking something. Debated the Goff fall, but can't really backstack Goff at all. What are my thoughts on Godwin? I see you, Maha Luke. Let me make this pick, and then I will answer that in a second. Not liking what the board's leaving me here. Don't want to take Josh Palmer that early. Maybe go another tight end. Maybe finish up at running back. This is, I will, not going to take Andrews and Kincaid with the same buy. I will take Tucker Kraft. I'm a big fan of Tucker Kraft. I know Luke Musgrave's there, but I think Tucker Kraft is the guy. Godwin, no, I'm high on. I think he could start a little slower. just coming off the injury and the fact that they have Mbuka and McMillan there. No reason for them to rush him and be 100% play off the jump. But I think down the stretch, it's going to be Chris Godwin. I know it's a new offense coordinator, but Godwin and Evans were just dominating targets when they're healthy. Godwin's actually getting more, which one would expect. Evans gets deeper targets and red zone targets. But Godwin and Baker seem to have a pretty good chemistry. So I want a good chunk of him. I think if he wasn't coming off this injury, Godwin is going top 50. So I think you're getting a couple round discount on him. The upside is there. This offense, I'm talk about an offense, they lose their offense coordinator, but the O-line, exactly the same. Running backs, exactly the same. Quarterback, exactly the same. Weapons get deeper with Mbuka. And, of course, Godwin back from injury. So I think that offense can just roll, and I'm going to go with it. Huhames, yeah. Bills, it's crowded. It's both crowded and not good at the same time. Jamie, backstacking is when you take your quarterback first, but you don't have one of his primary stack options, like in T-Law's case. You then get like Strange or De'Ami Brown. Chad mentions that here. And that he's just one of the easier. I think Lawrence is one of the highest upside quarterbacks who you can really backstack. Somebody like JJ McCarthy was on the board. Had I taken Hawkinson, I would have taken McCarthy. Typically doesn't fall back there. But, backstacking McCarthy with Jalen Naylor or Felton just doesn't feel as good. Going second round. Yeah, no, I mean, very well could. Him and Evans should absolutely be that high. Diggs in New England seems like a good. Yeah, agreed. I'm 100% with you. Diggs is one of my highest owned receivers for that exact reason. Kyle Williams is competition, but I think it's Diggs' job. So let's see if we get our guy Josh Palmer back. Say that somewhat facetiously, our guy, but it is what it is. He is a deep threat. He could kind of play the Gabe Davis role in this offense, and I think you're getting a discount. I think he'll have some usable weeks, probably a spike week or two. Gain him late as my fifth receiver. Don't mind it at all. Got Palmer, and we will see what is next. It will probably be somebody I pull up because I don't mind Goddard. Yes, exactly. That what I just did is an example of backstacking it. I'm going to go Romeo Dubs. I already have some Green Bay in there. Have a Raven bring back. So kind of have a little week 17 mini stack out there. The one difference here, a guy like Josh Allen is you're backstacking all his options. Every single of his guys go after him. So anyone would technically be backstacked, but this is, but yes, you're taking the quarterback first, then you figure it out. Dig smash, 100% agree. Told myself you can backstack Darnold with MVS. Might look really bad in November. Huhames and I are right there with you. We've been doing it since the big board season and going to keep doing it because Torrey Horton, not the biggest threat, solid guy, but he himself is coming off an injury-filled year. Thoughts on Hollywood Brown this year? I'm in. I'm ready to be hurt again, and hopefully Hollywood is not ready to be hurt again. The first year Lamar got injured when Huntley took over, Hollywood was, I think, that was like week 11, and they had their bye. So through like 10 games, Hollywood was, I think, wide receiver 8 or 9. in terms of half-point PPR points. And then he finished as wide receiver 18, 20th, whatever it was, because Huntley would actually still throw on the ball at a decent rate, but they were all short, unlike Lamar, who was using his vertical speed and, challenging the field deep. So Hollywood's, like no more touchdowns, essentially. He had one game where he had like 11 catches and didn't get 100 yards. And so it was like the Wan'Dale Robinson. Essentially, Huntley turned him into Wan'Dale Robinson, which is never a great thing for half-point PPR. But I think with Mahomes, I think there's a role for him. Mahomes is going to throw the ball around 600 plus times. He slightly was under last year, but I think could easily be back this year. And yeah, I think Hollywood, there's very much a role. Thanks for explaining. Yep, no problem. Yeah, that was a ugly year. Yeah, Huntley was like the anti-Russ Wilson. He could only hit in the middle of the field. He couldn't test the sidelines, and it showed. Don't love this range. I will be totally honest. I'm going to take a third tight end here. Take my guy, Mike Gesicki. Not a ton of reasoning other than the fact that I just didn't love anything else out there. I'm not sure if I'm going to go 3 quarterback in this build with Allen and Lawrence. Strange was off the board, so I was hoping Strange would fall back to me. He did not. So I'm probably going to backstack with the receiver there. Likely looking running back with this pick. We'll see what Ronnie does. Yeah, I know it's gross. It's not fun, but there is something to be said that Miles Sanders was at least working in, taking some first-team reps in minicamp. We'll see if that continues. In time box tournament like this, I don't mind taking some of it. And, my running back room, strong with 4 guys I think can start and produce. If Miles Sanders ends up being a 5th guy who can start and produce, great. If he doesn't, then I don't think he kills me in the 16th round. So we are coming up onto the end of the draft. I do want to do another draft. Let's see how we are doing on the likes. Please like this episode if you haven't already. Of course, hit the subscribe button if you're not already subscribed. Let's see, we have 25 watching, 21 likes. So please hit the like button. Want to do more drafts. Probably going to do a poodle next if people in the chat want to do that. So let's see. Got 2 picks to go. I think I'll probably stop at 2 quarterbacks. I know that's more unique for me, but I like Allen and Lawrence. I like where we're at running back. Don't mind taking a few more shots at receiver, especially if I am going to take like an Elijah Moore shot. Yeah, I probably want 8 receivers when I'm doing that. Thought about stopping at 2 tight ends, but I just didn't like anything on the board at wide receiver or running back when it came back to this pick. To me, Gesicki, again, another guy who can just be a top 10 tight end. Remember, we're different than super flex. Tight ends can hit your flex more in this since we are starting 3 wide receivers more often. So got Slayton coming up. Daniel Jones is always appealing as a third quarterback option. But we got, did somebody take, looks like somebody took De'Ami Brown. So we're going to have an unstacked Trevor Lawrence. Never my first choice, but it is what it is. I'm not going to reach up on De'Ami Brown. I'm very okay with not doing that. We will take Slayton for another starting receiver, and we'll figure out this last pick. Could grab Dart as a third stack. I already have Palmer. Might go that, might convince myself that way with not getting a stack to Lawrence. I don't know if I need to pull up Elijah more. Daniel Jones goes, so that makes that decision easier. You know what? I will take another shot at, actually, honestly, with 2 earlier bye week quarterbacks, I will take Russell Wilson here. Again, $3 tournament. I think Russ starts. I think he starts half the year, and it could be longer. Like, there's no guarantee that Dart ends up starting. I know I broke what I said. Hartman, good seeing you. Do you play any FFPC? I do not. Might get into it some more, but I've not done FFPC yet. Hit the likey lurkers, appreciate it. Hartman 2 quarterback. I know things get wild, but I ended up going to 3 quarterback. Losamo, good seeing you. Appreciate you jumping in. Who Hames took a Gabriel share double stacked in the Schnauzer today. So yeah, there you go. Schnauzer is definitely, with some of these smaller dollar tournaments and honestly just playing at volume, whether it's puppies, whatever it is, some of these big field things get a little bit more unique, get a little more weird. Definitely feels better to do some weirder things in a Schnauzer than say a BBM, or some of the smaller contests where advance rate matters or so well, whether it's a hound dog, whether it's a pug, something like that, or the single entries. Like, I'm not going to try and get too weird in the single entries. I'm going to want to advance. And particularly if we're talking this new Corgi, you absolutely have to advance or you make nothing. So I'll keep that in mind. Let's see, where are we at? Looks like we hit the like goal. So thank you guys. We'll do a second draft and might be doing even third draft. I will, after this last pick, I will look at our 2 teams real quick because I think it was just me and Mike in here. And then do people want to do, let me know if you want to do Poodle, Schnauzer. Let me know in the comments. I'm leaning Poodle, but I'm happy to be swayed. Kicks. Are we doing any live drafts on drafters? I've not yet. Definitely possible that I might. Not sure. Haven't. Absolutely could be going forward. That option. Nick, FFPC main events is where it's at. Yeah. No. Michael. Yep. Exactly. Chad, Poodle sounds good, but I still have 2 Schnauzers I can run. What is so Chad, I appreciate you commenting, but definitely on the fence there. Are other people on the fence? Would more people want to join a Poodle? Let me know as I go over these 2 teams. If people are either way, I probably will go Poodle. If there's a great push for the Schnauzer, I'll go Schnauzer. Okay, so it didn't kick me out of this, so I can just do it here. Look at Mike's team first, then just a quick look at my team. Baker, May, Richardson, 3 quarterbacks. So if it ends up being 2 and it's Baker, May, you're fine. That's where I don't. If you want to tack on a late round Richardson in that degree, yeah, that's where you do it. Where if it ends up being a 2 quarterback build, you're a-okay, and Richardson can just be total gravy. Henry, Connor, Naj, Rashard White, Sean Lloyd. Yep, like 2 key high-end starters. Naj and White, 2 very good backups / kind of still have their own standalone role. And then Marshawn Lloyd, handcuff backup, for Jacobs. Neighbors, Evans, DJ Moore, Jalen Waddle, Khalil Shakir, Pat Bryant, DeAndre Hopkins. Yeah. No, this was a 7 wide receiver build, 3 tight end. Absolutely think that's good. I mean, you got all these starters taking a shot on Pat Bryant. Then you get a nice veteran presence like DeAndre Hopkins to balance it out. 3 tight end, Warren Henry Otten. I like that. I mean, Otten to me still goes so late. I understand it's a very crowded room, but it's like he's just going to be on the field. I know Emo Cowboy talks about this. It's a top offense, and the guy's going to be on the field the entire time. I know people point to before Godwin got hurt, before Evans got hurt, Otten really didn't go off. Sure, there's some truth to that, but it's also true that even when Evans came back, he had some usable weeks. And then those last couple of weeks when he was injured, the tight ends were actually producing okay numbers. They just weren't him because he was injured. So had he actually played those weeks, he would have had closer to 600 yards and a couple more touchdowns. So, would we probably be considering him higher? Probably. And the reality is he is the starter. I don't think those other tight ends are starting above him. So like this team, very strong team. Hopefully, since you and I, Mike, we both advance in this one. And then my team, just real quick, really debate on the final pick. Went with Russ just because that's the time you go with Russ. I feel like when you have 2 earlier buys and he can help cover those, who knows? Maybe he ends up starting the whole year and he is there for the playoffs. But if he's just there to help ensure that I'm advancing, I'm A-okay with that. James Cook, Kenneth Walker, Aaron Jones, Cam Skattebo. Like I mentioned, I think I have 4 really good running back situations. Tacked on Miles Sanders. Could end up with having 5 and a steal there. Nico Ladd, Chris Godwin, Cooper Kupp, Josh Palmer for the stack, Romeo Doubs, and Darius Slayton. And this is the other reason why I didn't necessarily need to feel like I need an 8th receiver. Like, Nico and Ladd, just fantastic. Didn't get the quarterback stack with them, but if that's a mini stack, this happened 2 years ago. Lions, Cowboys, what you absolutely needed was Lamb, Amon-Ra, but you didn't need the quarterbacks. You wanted Lamar or Jordan Love. Those were the top 2 quarterbacks that week. And it was Jordan Love for the guy who got $3 million. But he had that Lamb and Amon-Ra mini stack. So let's hope it's the same thing here. And because I've also done this build those 2 without their quarterbacks in BBM. Romeo, Slayton, like those. And then 1-3 tight ends. Didn't necessarily feel I had to with Andrews and Kraft, but again, didn't like what was on the board for Gesicki. I wouldn't be surprised if, with these 3 tight ends, I'm actually very strong tight end points wise, as well as them sneaking into the flex a little bit more. Not my favorite team, but definitely a usable team. Okay, let's see. We got some votes in now. Wilson Poodle, Chad Boodle, Huheim's Otten. Yeah, I did see that. Can you look at the first spot too? Let me do that real quick before I get out of here and into the next one. SRGX Shea 32. Let's see, 2573. Burrow Knicks. Definitely can stop 2 quarterbacks there. I get it. Yeah, and this is the one where you went massive Cincinnati stack. Cincinnati with Burrow, Chase Brown, Higgins, and Chase. But he also got running back Swift, Pollard, Garendo, Wright. Not the strongest 5 running back build, but good enough. I'm not sure what his final team. Let me actually just refresh it and complete it, because just to get it what his final pick was, to be fair. And yeah. So he did get a 6 running back. Yeah, I like that. Getting Devin Neal, just some extra depth there. Calvin Ridley, Marvin Mims, Jack Besh, Leggett, Demario Douglas, then Ingram, Chig, Dalton Schultz. So some big Tennessee correlation. And didn't get Ward, but got a large part of that offense as well with Pollard, Ridley, and Chig. Week 10 is going to be a tough week for him with 2 of his top 3 running backs, his top quarterback, and his top 3 receivers, and 1 of his tight ends. So he'll need to make up some ground there. And I'm not a big fan of Leggett, and personally at this point, as much as I like Jack Besh, I would not be taking him early. Marvin Mims is not a guy I like taking early too. So I get that was correlation. Besh, you know, I like him overall, but his ADP is clearly falling. So right now I'm going to let it settle. I'm still taking him. I took him in a draft last night, but I would just have a little concern about that. And yeah, this is thought the same thing, Mike. Justin, good seeing you, my man. Justin and Andrew will be on tonight, ripping a BBM and talking strategy. Yeah, I do think it's too much of a gamble. People who talk about bye week bros and stuff like that, I say it as you have to look at it like, what will he be starting that week? Yeah, you still find a quarterback with Bo Nix, hopefully, but two of your top three running backs, your top three receivers, and then your other receivers are like, Marvin Mims, Jack Besh, not Demario Douglas, Xavier Legette. You're just going to need a lot of help there to hit all your wide receiver spots, your flex spot. Tight end still should be fine and not a big issue, but I don't think you necessarily can win a playoff spot in 1 week, but I do worry that you can lose a playoff spot in 1 week. If you end up as, we're on these 12-man pods, if you end up as the 12th team in the pod that week, that might be enough to take you out of the playoff running. It all depends on what pod we're talking about and how, if that just happens to be a week that a lot of teams score poorly for whatever reason, maybe it doesn't hurt you too bad, but it is something I am cognizant of, something I am worried of. I think advance rate matters a lot. Exactly. And Mike, yep, you summed it up. Could lose 50, 60 points in just 1 week, I feel like, with that build. And yeah, that is my worry about those kind of builds. All right, looks like Poodle is what the people want. So let us get into a Poodle. I will bring it up on my phone again because location error is never fun. Originals, of course, the 18 different buttons to get to the drafts on the app. And Poodle, I will count down from 10 this time since we're doing a Poodle. It is only either 20 seconds or 8 hours, obviously doing 20 seconds, but starting now. 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Enter. Draft starting soon, so I hope you guys got in before me. Who Hames? Yes, I agree. I don't know why drafters did that. I got confused once as well. Luckily, I actually had the time to do a fast draft then, but not fun. And now I need to find luckily it's the only Poodle, but I need to find the one fast in this myriad of slows. There we go. Ninth pick again. Let's see. We got Losimo in here. Chad got in here. So at least a couple people got in here. Glad to see that. If anyone else is in here. Luke, we were in some drafts last night. Not sure if you're in the chat or not. If so, glad you're drafting with us, one way or the other. Appreciate it, best ball on call. Yeah, and honestly, I don't really want to be cutting the grass in 92-degree heat either. So I'm 100% with you. Hopefully it cools off a little bit and you can cut at a better time. PPR Tyler, good seeing you, man. I'm doing good. And your streaming streak is incredible. Drop in the chat what time you're going live later. Bruni, sitting outside an office building in Owens Mills, waiting for an appointment. Another perfect reason to be watching best ball drafts. Had to get back to the job thing. Yeah. I mean, what? Yeah, exactly. He doesn't know we're streaming. He doesn't know we're trying for 40K in this Poodle. So Poodle already started. So far, nothing too crazy. Barkley going before the other receivers. And yeah, like Poodle, another one, really good advance rate. Really like the structure of this 20 max. So $140 to max, but it's 20 shots at 40K. I like that. Let's see what we get. Let's see what Losmo does here. Takes McCaffrey. That's who I wanted, but I will take Malik Neighbors. And sometimes in these time box tournaments, I think it was the German, no, not the German Shepherd. Maybe it was the Pitbull last year. There's one, I think it was a 10 max, and of my 10 teams, I got 5 Christian McCaffrey because I had like 5 1, 2, or 3 picks, or no, I had like 6 1, 2, or 3 picks, and the times where I had 2 or 3, and I'm thinking I'm getting like Lamb, like the one pick took Lamb and some McCaffrey sitting there, so I had a lot of Christian McCaffrey. I still advanced at least one of those teams to the playoffs, so it wasn't a total loss. But yeah, it wasn't fun when McCaffrey injury. I don't love pulling up Bowers here. I like London over starting double wide receiver again. PPR Todd going 9. That's right. You're with Flock tonight. Yeah, I'll definitely be looking to check in later. So 9 Central Time. Yeah, best ball and call guy in it also. Yeah, that should be a good one. I've never personally jumped into Flock stream once or twice, but yeah, I know he's big best ball streamer or big fantasy streamer. Obviously, they do the Flock contest, so did 1 or 2 of those last year. Not many, but yeah, no, that's very fun. You got him on. Should be a good draft, I'm sure. Excited to see that show. Yeah, who aimed right there with us. And let's see, what did Someone took AJ Brown, Chad Candles at the turn, got the Genty ASB. Yeah, and that was with Brian Thomas off the board. So the ASB falling to the second round always feels good considering he's been just incredibly consistent these last 3 years. I know JMO is, right there with him, but I still think we're going to see plenty of ASB going forward. So this draft is, nothing I would say too crazy going off the board. Bowers has been sliding. That's the other reason I didn't take him. I know there's the Neighbors Bowers start, but I honestly think Bowers should be more in this range. I think Bowers McBride should be right in this, 2-3 turn kind of range, particularly if Kittle's staying where he's at. Kittle outproduced him last year and easily could outproduce him again. Why are we paying a couple more rounds for Bowers and McBride? So two wide receiver start. Let's see what this 9th spot brings to us this time. Not sure if I'll bring up Allen, pull up Allen again. Blue took Devontae Adams. That would have been my click. With the correlation also with Drake London and just in general, I love Devontae Adams. I'm going to go Terry McLaurin. We'll see if Daniels gets back to me. But if not, don't mind starting 3 wide receivers right there, especially since I took Josh Allen last game. Yeah, Jamin was my highest exposed wide receiver, but couldn't pass there. Yeah, no, and honestly, saying, I have more JMO than ASB, but I would have easily taken ASB there. I want ASB for sure. Again, this is a top 5 offense in both yards and touchdowns each of the last 3 years. I know people were worried about Ragnow. I know people were worried about the new offensive coordinator. They did promote from within. I think their offense line will still be good, maybe not great, and the rest of the team is the same. So I don't really see a big drop off. Take Daniels if Donkey lets him come back. He takes Lamar. I will go Daniels. So definitely a more unique build for me. Quarterback, three receivers, no running backs to start. But I always talk about, you got to mix it up. You're doing volume. I think I'm still going to try and have a really strong running back room. I don't think this will be what most people consider a zero RB team. Probably really target running back in the next two picks. Again, see what the board gets us. But yeah, I don't think there's anything wrong with starting three wide receivers who have the ability to be top 15 receivers. Hopefully London last year kind of started well, but then Cousins just never got fully healthy, I feel like. And then Penix came in at the end, targeted London a good amount, but unfortunately his biggest game was week 18 after the fantasy playoffs. But I think there's every reason to think Penix and London in this offense. We know Zach Robinson comes from the McVay tree. We see how that kind of this type of guy, alpha receiver, can eat in the McVay tree. It should be London. I like Mooney a lot as well, but I'm expecting big things from London. Emo, how's it going? Good seeing you. Appreciate you coming in, saying hi. Going well. Running a Schnauzer earlier, running a Poodle now. Maybe looking to do a third draft after. We'll see. And coming back up here, don't mind Sutton, but probably looking more at the running back side. Let me make this pick, get back to the comments. I will snap call Joe Mixon if Losimo lets him come back to me. Let's see. Mr. Take on Hunter. So curious thoughts. If you're in a fade or hold position, given playtime ambiguity, I'm inclined to buy into it since certainty would mean third round price. Yeah, I'm kind of the same way. This whole look, it was the GM Gladstone talking about it, the latest comments. I look at it, they made a massive trade up for Travis Hunter. If they're viewing him as a primary corner with little wide receiver, I don't think they make that trade. I think it's if they're viewing him as a primary wide receiver with a little corner. Wide receivers hit that value more. Wide receivers make so much more money in free agency. They paid De'Ami Brown 10, 11 million for 1 year, and he's never cracked 500 years or 500 yards in a season. So yeah, I think, and like another example is look at the contract that Stephon Diggs signed for, 32 years old, coming off an ACL. Godwin coming off an injury, 28, 29 years old. They still sign for big money. No corner is coming off an injury like that, signing for that kind of money like Diggs or Godwin got. So I think he's going to be a primary wide receiver. And then the other thing is, it's Liam Cohen, offensive mind. I think he's going to have a big say, of course. And the bigger thing is Trevor Lawrence. They made this big investment in Trevor Lawrence, not just with the first round pick, but his extension. Why would you not give him the best chance to succeed? The best chance of that, I think, is Hunter being out there as a wide receiver the majority of the time. London's only 23. Yeah, no, I mean, he's got so much upside. I really think he could take off this year. Still high in Mixon with Chubb coming down. Mixon still in the boot. Yeah, I know he didn't really do anything, but I think there's just so much time before start of the season. I'm still high in Mixon. I look at the Texans as a situation. Mixon had over 1,000 yards, 10 plus touchdowns last year, missed 2.5, 3 games. Offensive line was brutal. Team was brutal. They just weren't scoring the same as they did the year before. I do think he is going to be the goal line guy, the red zone guy. Chubb will work in a little bit, but I don't think they just shut down Mixon. And honestly, I know they traded away Larry Tunsil to Washington, but the offensive line could just be better this year from just more total depth on the team. New offense coordinator, new offensive line coach. Hopefully they play their strengths. So I still think Mixon profiles as a top starter. Tyler, thanks. Love it. Appreciate it. Hope you've been enjoying solo streams. I have. And I will be, starting to bring on some guests and things like that to do some of these drafts with friends and, talk ball with them as well. But yeah, just getting into, definitely when I'm on with Andrew, he's behind the scenes. When I'm on with Meg, she's behind the scenes doing the heavy lifting there. So it is more of a change for me doing all that, but hopefully you've been doing well so far, and hopefully just getting better and better at it. And yeah, like I said, we'll be adding guests because I like talking to all the different streamers and people out there, as well as the comments. I think talking ball is a big part of it, and like it can be fun to just draft, of course, but I think you're here to get some takes and ask questions, debate back. I'm here for all of it. Let's see, coming up on one pick to go. Let's see what Losimo does here. I got my top quarterback. So am I looking to set up something else? Obviously go Penix later. I'll do it for the take. But no, I'm really big on Caleb Johnson. I think the way I look at it, Caleb Johnson fits right into the Najee Harris role. Najee Harris has had at least 180 fantasy points every single year, even with Jalen Warren there. And last year, also keep in mind, Justin Fields had 5 or 6 rushing touchdowns, I believe, 300 rushing yards. Aaron Rodgers is not doing that. And not just him. Like Russ had like 200 plus rushing yards. I think it was like 550 maybe total rushing yards between them, something in that ballpark. So I mentioned it before when talking about offensive line. Steelers were very banged up along the offensive line last year, both starters and backups. They lose Dan Moore, but I think their offensive line could just be better this year. I don't know if I want the double stack with Mooney. I think I'll go Hawkinson here. Just give me another quarterback option. Really good fan of Hawkinson. Like I mentioned before, if he gets touchdowns this year, easily could be a top 5 tight end again. Yeah, no, Caleb, I'm taking him at ADP. I'm taking him even a little before ADP, but yeah, getting him, 6-7 spots past ADP, half a round, I will take it. And I know there's some concern out there. Aaron Rodgers, rookie quarterback or rookie running backs. I don't know if I buy that. Granted, didn't have a lot of options, but Aaron Jones and Jamal Williams were both rookies and later round rookies that year, and they both did very fine. I think that was the year Rodgers got banged up, but I don't think it was because Brett Huntley was dictating that the rookie should play. I think Aaron Rodgers, I think some of that gets overblown because A.J. Dillon didn't get a lot of work. Well, A.J. Dillon didn't get a lot of work because of Aaron Jones and Jamal Williams. I don't know if that's a Rodgers thing. I think that's an Aaron Jones and Jamal Williams stat. And you look at last year, the Jets took 2 rookie running backs. They both played a decent clip with Breece Hall there. So I just don't know if there's a lot of data to support that. And I know people talk about Jalen Warren. Look, I'm taking some Jalen Warren. He's such a great pass blocker, but so is Kenneth Gainwell. Kenneth Gainwell carved out a role on a Super Bowl team, these last couple of years. He was a number 2 back. He was a pass down back. I think people just assume Warren totally has that role on lock. Gainwell might, outplay him. He outplayed other guys. He outplayed who was it with Rashard Penny a couple years ago. So I'm not taking Kenneth Gainwell right now, but right now when we're still a couple months away from the season, keep that in mind is the only thing I'm saying. I think Caleb Johnson, coaches, GM, they talked about him right away. He is the guy. He's the we believe he can be a workhorse back, feature back. All these things are consistently being said about him. Will he have a major pass role? No, but he's going to be a touchdown guy. He fits the system perfectly. Nothing. Aaron Rodgers, I think, only actually helps Caleb Johnson. I don't see the case where it hurts him. So yeah, Caleb Fall. All right, coming up in a couple picks here. Will not double. I don't mind Warren in this range, but I will not double up. And Lawson will take some. I feel like I'm being tempted with Scattaboo constantly being there for me. I will go back to the receiver well here. Take Trey Harris. Definitely one of my favorite receivers pre-draft even. My initial receiver rankings, I think I had him as my 5th or 6th wide receiver counting Hunter. But I thought he was borderline first rounder. I know we went a little later in the second round, but I think he gets a perfect landing spot with Justin Herbert. I think he complements Vlad McConkey, excellent, they're a good 1-2 combo. And yeah, I'm just a big fan of Trey Harris. I know he got banged up his last year in college, and I know people worry about the Ole Miss offense, but what Trey Harris does, I think translates. And I think, yes, he needs to develop a full route tree, but I think he is more than capable. Back on the clock. I'm going to go Rashid Shaheed. Speaking of injured guys back, nobody's talking about it, but Shaheed looks really fast out there in some of those camp videos. Looks to be fully back, not injury, not a factor. Yeah, Art Smith realizing you can use Gainwell to screw all of us is terrifying. Yeah, some of the early reports I saw, a little shockingly, is Patterson is probably on the cutting block. So, will be those. I think then in that case, it would be those 3 backs, Warren, Gainwell, and of course, Caleb Johnson. I think Johnson's role safe. I think Warren's the one who would be more at risk. But it is, you never like seeing necessarily 3 backs being used. BKGJ, thanks for joining us. Appreciate the comment. Any advice on how to identify high upside players that will actually pay off? Last year seems so different than this year. Yeah, so, last year, one of the interesting things, of course, was people ignoring the fact that basically every running back went to a good landing spot. Those guys are still there, but now you're paying a higher price for them. This year is a little tougher. And of course, also you had a lot of rookie receivers go to some pretty good landing spots. So some of those ended up changing, with Trevor Lawrence gets injured and it's Mac Jones down the stretch for BTJ, et cetera. But, not Anthony Richardson, it's Joe Flacco mixed in for Donnie Mitchell, and Mitchell can't actually beat out, our guy, Alec Pierce, who somehow leads the league in yards per catch. So yeah, no, there were some interesting things out there last year. This year, I look at it. One, I think some backs are still being discounted, whether they're in good offenses or not. Alvin Kamara being one that do just produces top 10, top 5 year, basically every year, injury or not injury. No Taysom Hill likely. I think I really like Kellen Moore's offensive system, what he's done in the past, not just with the Eagles, but with the Chargers, with the Cowboys. I think it'll be very good for Alvin Kamara, who I did take here. And, but as for identifying high upside players, it's opportunity. I'm going to look for opportunity and not just like playing time, for a good example, Wan'Dale Robinson. If he is playing a lot, he doesn't match up to what Russ does well over the middle. If he gets 140 targets again and a bunch of receptions, it's not, I don't think that happens. But if it does, He just doesn't have the upside. A guy like Slayton, though, could match up very well for Russ. Deep ball threat, vertical outside receiver. And not just Russ, but when Dart takes over, and if Jameis Winston were to get time as well, all three of them are fit. Let's see what I'm going to do here. And I'll finish answering that in a second. Let's see where Losimo goes with this. I feel like I have a couple options. These are Carbert. The Dak fall. The Dak fall is intriguing. Again, my rank that you might see on screen is not updated. I do have Dak basically maybe even above his ADP right now. I know he's unstacked right now. We're going to look to change that down the stretch. We'll probably pull up Ferguson here if he gets back to me. Yes, last year I had a lot of standalone stars at good value now. Besides the effort guys going uber late, taking a lot of players for teams such as and that's where I was getting to with Slayton is I think his ADP is not matched to one what they paid him and two what his upside is. As for other guys, give me 1 second. Let me take Ferguson here. Get my second tight end. Might stop at 2 tight ends. We'll see how it is. I like Dak. So yeah, one, I'm looking for opportunity. Not just clear starters like a Slayton late, Tillman and Thielen are other late receivers who look to be clear starters. Big play ability and Tillman especially, but Thielen has finished top 31 each of the last 2 years in points per game. I don't think much changes with T-Mac. I think the offense will get better. Same with some tight ends like Juwan Johnson. I mentioned it from the Kamara standpoint, but that offense changing, I think Juwan Johnson is going to be in a good place. Super late clear starting tight end. Like I like guys like Arroyo or Ferguson, but they're not clear starting tight ends. Theo Johnson, Juwan Johnson, much more clear starting tight ends, probably even clearer than like Jatavian Sanders and Chiga Okonkwo, who both seemingly go every draft ahead of Theo Johnson. Some of these other guys like Tutu Atwell, probably only a third receiver, kind of same with De'Ami Brown. But those offenses couldn't do enough to support that and give you enough spike weeks. They're essentially free in the 17th, 18th round. To me, better bets. I've talked about it before. The Kyle Monangai, I mentioned this on Chad Candles in the chat stream earlier. Kyle Monangai, with the Bears not investing in another running back so far, early camp buzz is they're a fan of Kyle Monangai, and that's part of the reason why. I feel like 2 of these 3 backs, Swift, Roshan Johnson, Kyle Monangai, will hit. So why not take some shots at Kyle Monangai? I probably will end up the most with Roshan, but I want some shots on all 3 of these guys because I do think 2 of these 3 will hit if Ben Johnson is anything close to what we saw at Detroit. Let's see here. Big Jackson Dart question: has he start while playing darts, putting the effect the triple dart technique? Very good question. Kelly, good seeing you in chat. Maybe only beat Steve's in our stream draft when he's solo. We'll see. We'll see where my EV is on these drafts. It is tough, no doubt about it. Otten and Pitts. I'm definitely with you on Otten. I talked about him a little bit earlier. Pitts, look, I know the upside case. I've taken him some when he falls, particularly if I have Penix, but it does not feel good. I will tell you that. Let's see here. What are we coming up to? I do like Garendo, Algier, Eckler. I will go Algier. Here, I have a piece with London. And, same buy as Caleb, no worry there. But I just think Algier is one of the best number 2 backs. Will have some standalone value. And if Bijan misses any time, I think Algier just fully takes on that role. Tillman, like I mentioned, definitely one of my favorite guys late. Roshan is bad. I mean, it hasn't been good so far. I agree with that, but I am taking some shots just due to the offense. I mean, I don't necessarily disagree with your opinion with that by any stretch, but just because he hasn't moved up. Like, I feel like he should be going definitely ahead of like a Jadon Blue just from an opportunity standpoint. So with the stack, I will take Eckler. I am definitely more in Eckler than Brian Robinson Jr., both at cost and potentially in general. I would not be surprised if Eckler outscores him. Eckler, as we know, is one of the best red zone running backs in the league. Very good passing down back. Had multiple games with 40-plus receiving yards last year. I could see if he stays healthy, doesn't get the concussions, he gets more red zone work. In this offense, I think you also look at it from the standpoint, he's the guy they invested in. Decent money, nothing world-breaking, of course. But Brian Robinson Jr. was a holdover. Chris Rodriguez was a holdover. Jeremy McNichols is a league min guy. Austin Eckler is the one guy they invested in. So let's see here. 2-5-5-2. Very fine with that build structure. And also the optionality could stop at 2 quarterbacks, could stop at 2 tight ends, could stop, one or the other. I think my running backs are more than fine, but if I tack on a 6, no question there. I think my receivers are fine as well. Like, I think Shaheed is a number 2. I think Harris is a number 2. And then I think I had 3 number 1s. So, I don't think there's much risk there. I've seen you on a lot of streams and bringing other streamers on. Who do you still have left on your list of streams you want to do a stream draft with? Oh, that's a good question. Well, he was in the chat earlier. The only time I did a draft with PPR Tyler, we were on Cody's channel for Cody's, marathon draft rating 500. Excuse me. So I don't think I've done drafts solely with PPR Tyler. Excuse me 1 second. I've not done I actually know Chad Candles in real life. I've not done a draft with him. Meg had him on, but I was not part of that draft. Hartman's another one. Like, he streams a little bit, and I think he's a very sharp drafter. Definitely want to have him on. So yeah, plenty of guys out there that I want to get, and then some bigger names, of course, as well. Emo, like we did a draft. Meg and I did a drafters draft with Emo and Tom Strachan last year. A lot of fun, really good. But I'd love to have Emo on. He and I definitely think similarly about a lot of things. Going wide receiver here. I think I'll go Alec Pierce. Harry had 2 week 12 receivers and being 2 of my top 4 versus, Shaheed being the other week 11. Bit of the tie between him and Pat Bryant there. Not having like a Kansas City bring back or anything like that. Let's see here. Coming up again quickly. There's nothing I feel like I have to get. Probably more apt to go 6 wide receivers or 6 running backs over 8 wide receivers. I don't love it, but it is stacked, correlated, all that. Miles Sanders. And again, in this situation, my first 5 running backs, I think, can more than carry me. Miles Sanders could just be, the cherry on top if he actually hits. He is, trust me when I say he's not a guy I'm going to be overweight on by any stretch. But I know I took him back-to-back drafts, so yeah, he's a guy right now probably want to be around 5-6% on. If he fully gets a starting job and doesn't move up too much, yeah, maybe we'll be a little higher. I do think Dallas is at risk. Somebody gets cut, somebody gets traded for a 7th round pick, like whether it's an Antonio Gibson from New England, whether it's one of the Jaguars guys, maybe Tank Bigsby, that guy could just go to Dallas and start. It's kind of how I feel about their running back room right now. Chad would love to do one sometime. Yeah, got to move around 5 to be safe. Absolutely. I think at least one departed LAC pass catcher will be good. Palmer Stone. Yeah. I think Palmer's fine. Stone Smart, I do think Mason Taylor is going to have that job. We'll see. But yeah, Palmer's biggest issue is health. To me, he's a fine receiver, nothing earth-shattering, groundbreaking. Would be a number 3 receiver on multiple teams in this league. And he adds value. He just can't stay healthy. And yeah, that was once again his issue last year. So 7 picks away. I typically go 3 quarterbacks. Okay, stopping at 2 with these 2. Also okay, stopping at 2 tight ends. I just don't feel like I have a massive need. I don't think I need 7 running backs. I don't think I need 8 receivers. Definitely going to take one more receiver. We'll see what we get here. That will probably determine my last pick. I will say if Darnold falls 20 picks past ADP, I will snap that up. And there's a very good chance he does, unless Luke takes him. Let's see if Losimo goes for a 4th quarterback. I'm betting not. Maybe someday. And he takes the receiver I would have taken in Slayton, obviously. Darnold, I will take the discount. And yes, I will go for my guy, MVS. I talked about it on other streams before. They right now do not have a true vertical receiver. Clinton Kubiak's offense last year, we saw how it worked with Shaheed and then MVS later in the year after Shaheed got injured. So MVS knows this offense. I worry about his ability to catch the ball. I always think of, when I think of MVS, as the movie Necessary Roughness and the stone hands receiver. But we will take some MVS here. And yeah, that finalizes the team. Different buy, works out well. Overall, pretty happy with this team. Mason Taylor, yeah. So we get to these guys like the cut candidates. Ant, good seeing you. When you say get ahead of them, you mean what exactly? Because Clifford Franklin from Replacements, yes, but same concept. Both always dropped the ball, could not catch it. I will, and I'm up for ripping a 3rd draft if you guys are. Let me know in the chat what you'd like to do. This will end, and I'll go over some teams real quick. But yeah, so Ant, were you talking about trying to predict the backups in those situations. Oh, if they sign and start with a new team. Okay, now I see what you mean. Yeah. Yeah, no, and that's fair. I mean, I just don't know how much fantasy goodness there would be in a guy like Pierce or even CEH. Cam Akers just signed with the Saints. So yeah, no, I get what you're saying now, but right now, to me, the most fragile running back room is the Cowboys. I feel like, if they were to sign a Dameon Pierce, I might want him more than some of the guys they currently have. Where is the poodle? Did it? And let me know in the chat if you'd like to do another draft. I'm open to a Schnauzer, poodle. Could go super flex if anyone wants to do that. There we go, poodle. Full draft. Just talked about my team, but feel very good about it. I'm personally not one. I don't think Darnold gets benched. I really don't. I think it's a very, very low risk. So wasn't necessarily planning on taking a third quarterback. But when Darnold falls 20 spots, I feel pretty good about taking it. Just a great insurance policy. He was a top 10 quarterback last year. Dak famously has missed a lot of time. Jaden Daniels, you look at the way he played in college, he could miss some time. He was very lucky to not actually miss the start last year. That rib injury he had in the Carolina game easily could have been a 2 or 3 gamer. So just something to always keep in mind, like even if it just helps me advance, I don't mind tacking on a late starting quarterback. Running back room, Mixon, Kamara, Caleb Johnson, then 3 starters, then 3 guys who have backup upside, usage ability in Algier, Eckler, and Miles Sanders. Wide receivers stopped at 7, but the reason I did, Malik Neighbors, Drake London, Terry McLaurin, 3 number 1 receivers on their teams. Trey Harris, rookie, I'm very high on. Rashid Shaheed, I think he's going to be the deep threat starting receiver there. Alec Pierce, spike week guy, MVS, spike week guy, but I, when my core of receivers outside of their buys, I think these guys are starting, producing usable weeks, most of their games. Then these guys can just fill in. And also, generally speaking, I'm expecting Caleb Johnson or running back to be hitting my flex. So I only need 3 receivers most weeks. Then TJ Hawkinson, Jake Ferguson. Yeah, I'm quite all right stopping at 2 with those 2 guys. If they're both back healthy, neither got a touchdown last year. I'm guessing that changes this year. And they could both be top 10 fantasy tight ends again. Not sure if Lissimo commented, but just gonna run through his team real quick. Purdy, Herbert, Ward, 3 starting quarterbacks. Always think that's good. McCaffrey, Walker, then Warren, Harris, Tootin, Lloyd. So only 2 clear starters, but again, very usable guys here. AJ Brown, JSN, Calvin Ridley, Brandon Ayuk. I know he has Purdy, so I get why. And I think he mentioned this last night. That's when he takes Ayuk. I get it. I still think my worry, and this is a time box tournament, so it's different, but my worry is when we get to camp and it's clear like Ayuk's not ready to start, Ayuk's going to fall to the 100s. So in general, I'm going to wait to take him more then, because there will be time box tournaments then as well. Josh Palmer, Jalen Noel, Darius Slayton, and then he went 2 tight ends also, which makes a ton of sense when you have Kittle and Chig. Kittle can basically handle it all on his own. I think Chad Candles, 3-5-7-3, definitely my favorite build. 3 starting quarterbacks, and even with Allen, which I do like. Genty, James Cook, Tony Pollard, Cam Scadaboo. That's why I didn't get my guy. He got him. No, I know I let him pass that one time, and of course, don't let him come back to me. Will Shipley, really love that running back room. For probably starters, Will Shipley, arguably the best contingent value there is. ASB, Roman Dunze, Jordan Addison, Stephon Diggs, Keon Coleman, Deontay Thornton, Ty Felton, and then 3 tight ends, Kincaid, Strange, Theo Johnson, 2 of the Penn State 3, plus Dalton Kincaid stacked with Josh Allen. So double, get some stacks there. Yeah, I mean, when your starting wide receivers are this good up top, you can take some shots on like Thornton and Felton. So totally good with that. Good fun team. All right, let me catch up on chat and then we will. And yeah, no, that's true. Like anyone who drafted Hunt thinking he would sign somewhere, it paid off. You got some very usable weeks out of him. Chad Candles, thank you for the fun draft. Yeah, no, thanks for joining me. Armin always run another. What quarterback and 2 wide receivers at ADP are folks sleeping on? I honestly say I think Darnold and Rodgers are the best cases for that. I think Rodgers last year finished as quarterback 15 in total points. I think it was 17 in points per game if you take out the 1 or 2 week starters. And I just talked about Darnold. Wide receiver, I think there's some guys who could, like real sleepers. My calls would be Tillman, Thielen, Slayton. Strange, good pick. Yep, absolutely agree. Would think Philly trade for a running back if Barkley goes down, maybe. And yes, if it's like he goes down for the year, maybe they would really look to invest more. But one, if it's during the season, you might not have those options. There might not be a running back capable of trading for. But if it's just a couple weeks, I view Will Shipley actually very similar to Justice Hill. Last year, Justice Hill, Derrick Henry never went down. Justice Hill had 4 usable weeks, 10 more points, couple in the high teens. And, I think, Shipley was a 4th-round pick. They let Gainwell walk for a reason. I think they believe in Shipley. I don't really think A.J. Dillon is a big threat there. Rodgers agreed for sure. Dude, yep. I like the Slayton call. Taking no Rodgers when he was stone free, especially on DK, feels like a big miss for me this year. Yeah, I took him sometimes. I mean, I definitely thought it was Pittsburgh all along for Rodgers, but I'm taking him more and more. Like I just think he should go up higher. All those quarterbacks kind of been after QB 20 and on. Look, if Tua is healthy, if JJ, massively produces, there's all cases for them to get up into the top 15. But Rodgers, I don't see the case for him not to, is the way I look at it. And he's still going as the cheapest one. So I'm going to be taking him up the board. I know he doesn't have like top 5 upside anymore type thing. But, if touchdowns just break his way, he had more passing touchdowns than Patrick Mahomes last year. And they threw essentially the same number of pass attempts. So I will do another. I'm good for ripping another. I think unless people want something else, I will do another poodle. So speak now. If not, but I will enter on my phone again and in 10. Let me bring it up first before I count down. All right, 20-second poodle. 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, enter. Oh, waiting on 10 more to start. So fresh room. Sorry if anyone got into the pre-flow. I mean, if you want a multi-table, always will enjoy that. I definitely have been there many a times. But it looks like it's filling up fast. 4 more to go. So hopefully some of you are getting in there. So 3 more to go. Yeah, I don't think this poodle is going to fill as fast as like the German Shepherd, but I think probably by the weekend it fills. Saturday, Sunday, especially with the slows. The fact that it's 20 max, it's about twice. I think it's twice the size of the German Shepherd. 50-some thousand versus 20-some, 25 5,000, whatever the Shepherd was. And both were 20 max. So yeah, I expect to fill pretty soon. The fact that they launched, another kind of smaller max tournament in the, albeit more expensive, $20 10 max in the Pit Bowl will probably slow down some. And just there's a lot out there right now, particularly if you are still drafting Superflex and Schnauzers. So waiting on 2 still spots if anyone wants to join in. So yeah, who are some of the chats to answer BKGJ's question? Who are some of the chat's favorite sleepers at quarterback and wide receiver? All right, this one we got Paul Legion 13 in here. We got Hartman, we got Losimo again. So yeah, good draft. I'm at the 5 spot, like that. Feels good being free from the Superflex lobbies. Yeah, still got about 20 some to go, so I need to be ripping those. Paul, good seeing you. Appreciate you hopping in. Oh, UFC Jaguar at 8. Nice. Appreciate you joining us. Fields and Dak are my favorite at cost. Not really sleepers though. No, but I agree. I think we just talked about like Rodgers and some of these other quarterbacks in the 20s, like a Darnold, who can make a case to be a top 15 quarterback, but really don't have much outs to be like a top 5 quarterback. Dak and Fields have those outs, and you're not paying that freight. So I agree. They're fun quarterback options in where they're going. I probably need more Dak just because he just goes kind of in a range where I'm probably looking at a receiver tight end a lot. I've probably grabbed at least one quarterback by then. So it goes 3 receivers to start here. So I'll give my pick of a running back. And I do have Gibbs ranked above Genty in my latest ranks. Goes Barkley. I will go Bijan. And let's see how it goes from here. So yeah. No, and this is, took a while for Underdog when they initially released. I think a big part of it was, of course, the New York issue. They didn't want too many tournaments where New York didn't have access to. I'm sure they knew they were close to getting New York, but they've been releasing, last week they didn't release any, which was a little odd. They've been releasing 2 to 3 a week last couple of weeks. Yes, including the Superflex. I know not everyone's a fan of that, but really good just seeing them hitting all these different structures, all these different dog breeds, different price points, some layering the price point like $5. Now the Corgi is a third $5 contest in Maine, but different structures for all of them. So that's interesting and fun. Let's see here. We had UFC Jaguar, Neighbors, Losimo, Puka, Hartman, Gibbs. Yep. Yeah, I love, and I definitely think there's a bit of a tier break after the first 6, but those next guys, McCaffrey, Neighbors, Puka, even Nico. I'm good with all these guys. I think the first 20 picks, I think are pretty strong. Then I think you start getting into some debates on, is the value, is the juice worth the squeeze? Could have Bowers come back to 20. That would be interesting. Conky goes Hartman to Hartman. Bowers goes right before me. Sheet race. It's moving on up, but I'm going to go JT. Get back to my roots. The double running back starts. Bijan, JT, 2 guys who do have paths to be RB1. I think Bijan, we saw him year 2 get better. Also down the stretch, he was even better. So I think that keeps going. Zach Robinson, again, coming from this McVay tree. We know the McVay tree can produce big-time running back results. Todd Gurley, Kyron Williams. Why not Bijan Robinson, considering what they invested in him? And especially, it's a good way to break in a young quarterback. I mentioned last draft, I love London, but yeah, Bijan is pretty amazing also. And JT, I really think he might be the biggest beneficiary of Daniel Jones. I talked about before things that Anthony Richardson did well, stealing rushing touchdowns, throwing 70-yard touchdowns, killed Jonathan Taylor, and things that he didn't do well, like throwing to his backs, extending drives, also killed Jonathan Taylor. So not that Daniel Jones is perfect in any of those regards, but he'll have a couple rushing touchdowns. But I just think in general, you're looking at an outcome where we did not expect T. Higgins back to me. I will take it. I was initially going to have Devontae Adams there for the bring back to Bijan, but I will take a falling T. Higgins anytime. But yeah, no, I really think Jonathan Taylor, he stays healthy. Yes, most of his production last year was weeks, 15 through 18. But that's also in part he missed 3 games, was a little banged up. And honestly, that Anthony Richardson experiment, if you really look at it, all the 3 and outs that they have, just not fun. Not fun at all. Does CMC flip Gibbs by the end? That's a good question. Gibbs, he is still splitting the role. Now, through 14 weeks last year before the Demon injury, Gibbs was RB4. So, kind of going in line with where he's going right now. He improves if Demon's injured, but I think you can obviously make the case that McCaffrey has the RB1 upside as well and doesn't need an injury in front of him. Do worry about the 49ers offensive line, of course. But yeah, I'm taking both. I still think Gibbs ends up with a higher ADP. I think plenty of people I see take him above Bijan. Sometimes even above Barkley, because people worry about Barkley having so many touches last year. I'm not sure if CMC will flip it that much. Maybe at the very end. Definitely handcuff JT Giddens. I'm not the biggest handcuff guy, just because I typically like to stop at 5 running backs. If I do 6, like Giddens could be absolutely in the mix for a handcuff. And I don't think Khalil Herbert is totally. I like Giddens. I liked him pre-draft. I think he probably is the number 2 back, but I think he still has to beat out Khalil Herbert. I don't think that's they're just going to gift him that. So I've taken him some, but he's not like somebody I'm just like massively overweight on or anything. I'm just a little down on DJ Moore. I'm going to go Xavier Worthy here. Can absolutely consider George Kittle, but I like Worthy. I think everyone's so hyped on Rashee Rice. I think everyone's so hyped on Rashee Rice, and I get it, but it was Worthy who was really breaking out down the stretch. We always talk about 2 things: post by rookie bump. Worthy absolutely achieved that, and then sophomore year breakout receivers. Why can't that be Worthy? I think we're forgetting about Worthy a little bit. And Mike Robb, yes, don't do handcuffs, but I did tell you to get Hooker last night. It depends. This is the day stream, so maybe handcuffs more in the night streams. We'll see. I'm going to go Cortland Sutton here. Bring back 2 Worthy. Opens me up not just to Mahomes, Knicks as well, for a full game stack of that game. And I really want pieces of the Denver offense. Bo Nix, second year with Sean Payton. I think Cortland Sutton. I like Pat Bryant. and I like all the additions they made. I just think Denver's offense, Cortland Sutton is still the guy. So let's see here. Losimo going with heavy wide receiver start, but those are 4 very damn good wide receivers, and got the Puka London correlation. And gets his first back at Joe Mixon. Yeah, nothing wrong there. Legion going the other direction, 3 straight running backs to start. Gets DJ Moore, gets Devonta Smith. Those are 2 upside receivers for sure. Like I said, I'm a little down on DJ Moore myself. Not that I don't want any of them, but I do worry get in a situation where, you know, there have just been some underlying themes out there about coach speak and stuff, and even more saying he's not sure what his role will be exactly. I just think he's going a little too high, but at the same time, we know he can pay off. And then UCF Jaguar, neighbors, AJ Brown, Devonta Adams. That's about as good as it gets. 3 straight receivers. And then, yeah, Hampton, RJ Harvey, 2 very talented rookies on what should be 2 very good offenses. I mentioned earlier, worry a little bit about Hampton splitting the role with Naj. Honestly, I worry Harvey's role splitting share with Dobbins less, but at the same time, Hampton is the more talented running back. I think there's just a lead upside there. Maybe he just dominates. So UCF, then Hartman on the clock, and then OGTV, UCF, Jennings. Yeah, I'm out on Ayuk, so I'm taking a lot of Jennings and Pearsall. Absolutely. Jerry Judy, I will take Joe Burrow here. I originally thought I was going Mahomes, but with Burrow coming back to me in this range, I have T. Higgins. Burrow, I talked about this last night, his 3 healthy years, top 10. He was 10th overall in 2021. In 2022, he was 3rd or 4th, I think 3rd, and then last year he was 4th overall. If I'm going to get him in, essentially around pick 70, pick 68, so discount from the ADP, yeah, I will take it. So just queuing up a few guys. No one massively jumping out. I mean, I originally thought setting myself up. I will take Diggs as commenter mentioned earlier. Diggs has just such big upside in this offense. Maybe sets me up for a May as a quarterback 2 in a little bit. Thank you very much. Yeah, no, the DJ Moore thing, I get, there's reasons to be bullish. And one thing I do is when I take Moore, particularly take him more if I've, say, gotten CMC and I know I'm building like that Bears 49ers stack, then I like him a bit more. Or if I feel it's a situation that I'm going to be then targeting, like prioritizing Caleb Williams later. I think for me, part of it was already having Higgins, maybe hoping that Burrow did fall. Like I did get, and I just do want Worthy a fair bit. But no, I'm not totally out on DJ Moore. I wish he would go in about 10 spots later. Yeah, I mean, I think, I think Zacchaeus, I think Burden is going to get healthy, and I think Burden will have that Zacchaeus role, which, yes, could very well open up DJ Moore. I think it could open up Rome Odunze. I think the Bears, my take on it is it's very fluid. Just some of the coach speak isn't great. The current staff didn't bring in either him or Odunze, but Odunze was a top 10 pick last year. I believe Ben Johnson has commented that he was high on Odunze, or there's some comment. Maybe it was Antoine Randall, their wide receiver coach. Lions, now the Bears wide receiver coach, signed Odunze, and we know they were very high on Burton. So just that kind of stuff, but not knocking DJ Moore at all. We know he's a talent, and would not shock me if he has a big year. Holmes there, but same buy as Burrow, so I will pass on that. I will pull up Mason here. Want to get a third back. Obviously, love my top two guys, but I don't think you get by with just two guys. So Mason, I always feel really good about. I think he's going to have a high floor ceiling if he really gets a touchdown roll. I mean, he could have anywhere from 6 to 7 touchdowns, or it could be like 12 touchdowns. I think it's going to be a very efficient, quality offense. Love my 4 receivers to start. And even if you do consider Higgins and Worthy as number 2 receivers, I think they're very good number 2 receivers. Yes, so Rome Burn, I was clicking Burn a lot. I've moved off of it with the injury stuff. I'm going to let his ADP readjust. Rome, I'm clicking probably the most right now. I think you're getting a couple round discount on Moore. Easy to then stack Caleb. Let me make my pick. And I'm going to go Bo Nix. I really like this offense. Different buy. We saw it. I can't remember what team it was last time. Do Burrow, Bo Nix. I like that kind of build. I've done that multiple times. Big fan overall with that kind of build. But yeah, I just think Burden, you're getting the couple round discount to DJ Moore. He's a first rounder for a reason. I know some of the advanced metrics weren't great, but that offense just wasn't great. I think Ben Johnson, Antoine Randall and company, they were going to figure it out. And honestly, I want a decent share on all these guys. Moore right now had the least, just because I do worry if we get to camp and it's clear Burton has a bigger role and it's clear Rome has a bigger role, then Moore will fall a couple rounds. So I think I guess the way I look at it is Odunze could go up, Burton could go up. I don't think Moore is going to go up, even if we know that he's the number 1. Like maybe he goes up half a round. But if say Rome looks like he's the clear number 1 in camp, he could go up 2 rounds. Burton, if we know he's going to be heavily used, he could go up 2+ rounds. So that's kind of the way I look at it. I get, again, that's a team. I'm betting on that offense. And so I want various pieces throughout. Let's see, receiver coming up. Probably see what Hartman does here. UCF Jaguar just took Caleb Williams. Probably looking at backstack. Sheed goes. We will go Bateman here. Yeah. And Bateman is a guy, I still think he's going just way too low. Yeah. Sorry about that, Hartman. That is one thing with Caleb Williams, especially when he starts to fall, is there are, with Burden sliding and Loveland sliding, he's kind of easier to backstack now. But yeah, Bateman is a guy that he had more red zone, or he had as many red zone targets as Zay Flowers, despite 40 less total targets. So, and he's also a deep ball threat. So, I love where he goes in relation to, Zay Flowers, and just getting a high-end piece in this offense. Big spike week potential. He finally was healthy for a full year last year. Could be easy to just outperform his ADP. Caleb won't be easy to backstack this time. Oh yeah, Burden is gone. And Loveland is still there. Let's see, Paul is up next. I just don't like taking Mims at his current ADP. I'm going to take Njoku, get my first tight end. Don't love the offense, but I love the player. I'll go with that, and I hope probably hoping Flacco plays a lot more than most people expect for Njoku to pay off. But if he does, we know Njoku has big time upside. Hartman, I see taking the stack there, which I get it. Again, this is an offense we're betting on. We want pieces of it. Can pay off. And sometimes that can be the way to approach it. Take multiple pieces. Even if you miss out on the quarterback, you're still going to get a lot of the offense production from what could be a top 5, top 10 offense. So 9 picks away. A little thinner at running back than I typically like. Very possible we'll stop at 2 quarterbacks. I know I've said that every time. Haven't done it yet. We'll see. 3 running backs. Definitely probably going 6 here, which could open me up to Giddens as a handcuff. Tight end likely going 3. Receiver, feel good with this top 5 to only stop at 7. Only had the layered buys right now at week 10. Probably won't do any more week 10. I know Meg will be happy that Tyler Lockett is not on my current board, but yeah, so I feel okay about this team so far. Not big, I'm just better. Hey, I get it. If I'd gone Mahomes double stacking with Hollywood, I would have been interested in. Do I take Mims with the fall? I still don't know if I want to. Yeah, not with Rashard White there. I will take White. I think White is one of the better number 2 back options in this league. Had plenty of a red zone role, plenty of a passing role last year. If anything happens to Bucky, I think White just steps in, does more, and we'll still have plenty of standalone value. Sean Tucker, the games that Sean Tucker actually produced were the games where White was out or in blowouts. In the playoff game against Washington, I don't think Tucker had an offensive snap. So I'm not, I know there was some of that stuff earlier this year before the draft that they really love Sean Tucker, and that could mean, the death of Rashard White. I don't know if I'm buying it, and definitely not with my current ownership percentages. I talked about before, Cedric Tillman. I already have 1 Browns. Don't love fully investing in the Browns offense, but there's just a little bit of team correlation there. just knew it was a different buy than some of my top guys. And I just think he actually has the upside to outperform. I mean, in the couple games before he got injured, particularly after they went to Winston, after the Amari Cooper trade, Tillman, had better production than Jerry Jeudy. We're treating this as Jerry Jeudy is the clear number one, Tillman the clear number two, like a massive gap between them. We're treating it kind of similarly to we treat Pittsburgh. DK Metcalf's number one, next receiver. It's ambiguous. We don't know. We don't love Calvin Austin or Roman Wilson. We're treating it kind of the same here. And this could be a 1A, 1B situation, whether it's Tillman's the 1A or he's the 1B, it doesn't matter. I think he's going too low based on that premise. He's fully back healthy. I know the concussions are scary, but, we're taking Olave, 90 spots higher. He's got probably even greater concussion risk. So, and also a questionable quarterback and all that. So, I understand Olave has shown more of a number one receiver, but I'm really high on Tillman's upside and ability in this offense. I will take Pat Bryant, essentially right at ADP. Another piece in that stack, probably done at 7 quarterback or at 7 receivers, especially with getting these guys earlier. I wouldn't mind like Braylon Allen or Rico Dowd, or tight end like Hunter Henry, but I'll get 2 more tight ends. I'll get a couple more running backs and probably be done at the 2 quarterbacks unless we get some sort of massive fall again. Let's take a quick look at Hartman. Does it 2 quarterbacks now with Bryce Young. UC Jaguar took the Baker Caleb, did not get the bring back to stack Caleb. Our guy Paul, Brock Purdy, J.K. Dobbins, Jordan Love, Lou Brown, Isaiah Likely. I really like Likely in this range. Definitely am Likely over Kyle Pitts for sure. Adam Thielen, definitely one of my favorite picks. If I didn't have Bo Nix, I would have taken Thielen 100%. But Michael Penix, I think that's a good value there for Penix going, and Stafford. Stafford falls a lot. I get there's not super upside with him, but so Braylon Allen's still there. I will take that. Probably could have gone Hunter Henry, but I worry more about my running backs. Hopefully one of these 2 guys come back to me for another, they are week 9, same buy as Njoku. Maybe we'll see if there's another better running back. Definitely don't want to take Miles Sanders again. Wouldn't mind Nick Chubb, TJ Giddens, Justice Hill. Put Jaden Sanders in the queue as well. So I should get one of these guys. I'll be pretty happy with that. Giddens does go ahead. So no handcuffs here, Mike Robb. He's stopping at 2 or grabbing the Saints quarterback for me. Yeah, I get that. I mean, I don't mind Tyler Shuck, especially if you got a stack going. I do think he starts, and you'd be surprised how many usable weeks come from quarterbacks you don't expect it. So even with the same buy, I will take Mason Taylor here. Definitely taking a third tight end. Just hopefully somebody filling for a bye week. But I think Taylor just has way more upside than most of the other tight ends. Basically, all the other tight ends still out there. And yeah. But Juwan in the queue as well. If he comes back, Theo Johnson. Those are kind of the tight ends I'm looking at, especially since, if my two tight ends didn't have the same buy, maybe it'd be more apt for an Arroyo or Ferguson. But the issue is if those guys don't really get a big role, then you could be kind of still taking the zero, even investing with the third tight end. Miles Sanders, now I feel like I'm getting trolled. But no, I won't be taking Miles Sanders. Would not mind Nick Chubb in this type of build. He's gone. Justice Hill is there. Might just take the third tight end here and figure out running back at the end. Yeah, I know. Justice Hill gets taken, kind of makes my decision for me. And we will see here. I will take Theo Johnson. I just think he is the most clear starter of this group. I know it's a reach in terms of ADP, but no guarantee any of those tight ends would still be there when I get back. And like I said, I don't want to go the Arroyo Ferguson route. There are just more running backs, Miles Sanders still being one, there that I could take a shot for a 6-star RB. And quarterback, yeah, all the quarterbacks went. So yeah, I mean that's a fair take, Hartman. Like I'm by no means a fan of Miles Sanders, but I just think right now there's a decent enough chance that he's got a very usable role on the team. And we see this, look, for like, don't get me wrong, Javonte Williams was bad last year, but it was also bad because you were taking him in like the 10th, 11th round, 12th round, whatever it was. Javonte Williams only had like 2 usable weeks, but one was really big, that Saints game. But, if it's that kind of thing and I'm getting him in the 16th, 17th, 18th round, my point is any bad starting running back, Brian Robinson had multiple usable weeks. Ramondre Stevenson, it's also about the cost that where you're getting them. But yeah, we'll click some other guys here. Devin Neal, another one I really like. Ollie Gordon, so deciding on this one, nothing overtly jumps out to me. I do have Cincinnati, so I think I will just go there, and I don't have week 10 buys at running back. So I think I will go Taj Brooks. Was my pre-draft sleeper. Coaches seem to love him like I thought. As opposed to Steve on Jaden Blue. Yeah, I'm not a Jaden Blue fan. I wasn't even sure if he'd be drafted in the NFL draft. Definitely was surprised where the Cowboys took him. I know like some Texas fans like Candyman is more in Jaden Blue. My concern is he never got a full role with Texas, even when there was an injury in front of him, like Jonathan Brooks. And I just think that he, is his fumbling issues, he's very limited in what he can do. I don't know if he can take a big role, and particularly in a half-point PPR style. He's explosive. There's no question. But a lot of that, I mean, it's not like he made the decision to hit that big 60-yard run. It was just like a hole opened up and he just ran through it. Yeah, he did what he was supposed to do, but it doesn't show to me like he's going to get to the NFL, and when things are different and guys are faster, he's going to be able to have the same sort of success rate. You can put Lockett and Sanders again here. I would never stream snipe you. Yeah, no, I get some of these veterans that aren't the most fun clicks. I'm with you. Let's see, go to completed. Needs to refresh. So I'll go over the teams and then we will get out of there here for the afternoon stream. I haven't looked, but I assume Who Hames is on around now. Usually everything around 5. All right, let me go over my team real quick. 2, 6, 7, 3. Burrow, Nix. Then I take the 2 early running backs, and then I wait. Bijan, Jonathan Taylor. End up with 6, just taking a lot of, Mason, I think, has a very usable role. I think you can make a case all these guys get enough usage to pay off. With them taking 4 shots to just kind of, maybe I won't always hit the flex with this kind of group of running back room, but I feel it's strong overall. Receivers, Higgins, Worthy, as I mentioned before, even if they are both number 2s, I think they're very good number 2s. Sutton, Diggs are probably number 1s. And then, Bateman, Tillman, we both talked about all those. And then, Pat Bryant also. I think there's a real chance he's the number 2 receiver in Denver. So I like taking a shot on him, especially on a Bo Nix team. Njoku, Mason, Taylor. Ideally, I like having different buys with my top 2 tight ends, especially when I'm drafting them late. But, I think Njoku, Mason, Taylor, I worry about the quality of the offense for all 3 of these tight ends. But there's just a path where Njoku's the second or third option on his team. Mason Taylor is the second option on his team. Theo Johnson, probably no more than third option on his team. But he looked good as a rookie, and, hopefully he's fully back from his injury. Let's look at Paul's team, Legion 13, 2, 5, 8, 3. Purdy, Love, like that. Barkley, Jacobs, Kyron Williams. 3 starting running backs, then Dobbins, Sampson, fill in DJ Moore. That he got a few picks past the ADP, which always like that. Monte Smith, a few picks past the ADP. Gets this guy Ricky to eventually get for the Purdy stack, Golden for the Love stack. Really like both those young receivers. Pittman, Hollywood Brown, Adam Thielen, Alec Pierce. These are all receivers I'm taking, so I definitely like that. I'm not sure if he was, maybe playing on Daniel Jones as a third quarterback and if that got sniped from him or not. But 2 pieces in that offense. I think that wide receiver room, we wait a few rounds to address it, but it's still going to be, took 3 running backs to start. His wide receivers are exceedingly more than fine. Likely Gesicki, Juwan Johnson. I think his tight end room's better than mine. So, definitely nothing wrong with that room. Hartman's team, 3, 6, 7, 2. Kyler, Bryce Young, and then he did go down the Saints Tyler Shuck way. Gibbs, Pacheco, you got the guy, Cam Scadaboo, Jaden Blue, Jalen Wright, Jarquez Hunter. A lot of young upside plays there. I'm not a fan of Blue's ADP, but I get it. I just hope, I think his ADP will fall as the summer goes on. Time box tournament means a little less, of course, because everyone's taking him in that same range. Lad, Marv, T-Mac, Flowers, Rome, Sheet Shaheed. Yeah, I mean, your first 6 receivers are really strong, and then the big upside play in Adonai Mitchell, Colson Loveland, Hunter Henry. Yeah, I know you took Loveland maybe out of spite a little bit, but so good. Good pick, good team. UCF Jaguar, Baker Caleb. He's probably hoping for the Loveland return. Didn't get it though. Hampton, Harvey, Pollard. 3 running backs, 3 likely top running backs on the teams. Garendo, one of the best handcuff backs out there. Brashard Smith, talked about before. I really think he could kind of work into a Jerick McKinnon type role. JCM from Washington. I don't mind taking him some in the 18th round. He got a lot of buzz in camp. I know he's 7th rounder, but I do think Brian Robinson's role is much more fragile than people realize. Neighbors, AJ Brown, Devontae Adams. This is the inverse, from what we saw from Paul's team, taking 3 wide receivers in a row, but 3 guys who, if it ends up being, honestly, 3 top 5 wide receivers, they have that upside potential. Not all will be 3 top 5 wide receivers, but having that is huge. And then, Juwan Jennings and Buka, Jalen McMillan, Keenan Allen, absolutely can take some shots here with some of these guys when your starting receivers are those 3, plus Jennings, and then 3 tight ends. Cole Kmet just to get the stack. Tucker Kraft, Jake Ferguson. So he's got 2 key starters as well. And then Losimo, again, not sure he's in here. Fields and May Herbert, really strong quarterback room. Mixon, Connor, Aaron Jones, and 2 other running backs who should be like number 2s. Puka, London, JSN, Mike Evans, exceedingly strong, and that's perfect. Yeah, you then wait over 100 picks for your next wide receiver when you're taking those 4 guys. Michael Wilson, Darius Slay, and still getting starting caliber guys. Friar Youth, Otten, Jatavian Sanders, waiting on tight end, but again, another one waiting on tight end. I end up liking his tight end room more than mine, kind of because of Friar Youth's pick. Just such a good value. Where I take Njoku, Friar Youth, I don't think it's that far behind. You're getting him 30 picks later. So I'll catch up on the chat, and then we will probably get on up out of here. All right. Thank you, Chad. Appreciate it. Appreciate you listening. Appreciate you jumping in the draft. Do you think running backs that rely on speed have a harder time adjusting to the NFL? Yes and no. Obviously, a guy like Gibbs, guys like that. I think one of the things is like vision, and it's the same honestly with Tootin. Not only did he have some of the fumbling issues like Jaden Blue, but he also had one of the most explosive run, yards after contact, I should say, in college football last year. But he also had the high stuffed rate, so it was either home run or negative play, and it's just you want to see the vision. Tootin to me is better than Blue in that regard if we're talking about those guys specifically, but I think it's those kind of nuances, and that's honestly one of these reasons why I am into a guy like Cam Skadaboo is he's got that. Not only does he runs people over, and people say that's not going to happen in the NFL, but partly he runs people over is he doesn't allow full contact. Like he makes guys he makes that like little subtle step. You see those guys like Henry, you see the guys like Barkley. Not that I'm comparing him to those guys, but he runs with better vision than a guy like Tootin does. Tootin just relies solely on his speed. If he breaks that first tackle or he breaks that 160-pound cornerback tackle in college, he gets credit for that 60-yard run, and that's so many yards after contact. In the NFL, those kind of tackles are much harder to break if you're not forcing, poor tackling angles, so you might break a tackle like Saquon breaks tackles all the time, and we talk about how strong his legs are, and yes, that's part of it. But it's also because he doesn't allow guys to square up on him. If he has anything to say about it, whether it's jumping over them or just that subtle move at the end, right before a guy hits him, that allows him to stay up, keep his contact balance, and keep going forward. I worry about that with some of these guys who rely so much on speed. They're just faster than everyone out there. I think RJ Harvey is actually a little different. He relies on speed, but he utilizes more contact balance. And that's why I think his explosive run rate is going to translate a little bit more than, say, Tootin or Blues, to be honest. I also think some of these guys, like, again, back to Tootin, he had okay numbers in the passing game, but he wasn't running like real routes. It was like, again, a dump off, and then he just explodes for a big gain. It wasn't some sort of like him beating, a safety or a linebacker in coverage and then getting it. It was just a little screen or a little dump off, and then his speed takes over. That isn't always going to translate against good NFL defenses week in, week out. And Blue has some of that issues. I think he's a little better receiver. But yeah, just vision and contact balance are so key at the next level. You can't just rely on your speed. You can't just rely on your power. You have to have like those kind of nuances. Same with the receivers and route running. Like, the receivers who have elite speed, that's great, but you need some nuance to your route running game. So yeah, those are the kind of things I do think end up mattering and, might be an okay career into a good career. Right. We are 2 hours deep now. No one is going to rat you out. Does Meg bully you? We are here for you, man. No, she doesn't bully me. She is, she's older sister, and she has her opinions on things, but overall we work well together, both on streams and in life. But no, I think the best way to frame it is what I always call her: aggressively helpful. I will let Daniel Jones beat me week 17. Forgot that I had Pittman when I was taking Pierce. Usually only taking 2 wide receivers from the same offense for week 17. Drafting while working. Yeah, I get you. I will take some Daniel Jones. I think there's enough upside there, but I understand it. Justin Schuster, hey man, how's it going? Glad you joined. We are going to be jumping off soon, but yeah, just ran 3 drafts: a Schnauzer, 2 poodles. So thank you everyone for joining. Hartman, appreciate it. Appreciate you joining some drafts. Thank you everyone who joined the drafts. Thank you for everyone joining the shows. I'll be getting out here in a minute. Do you max all these contests out? 3 more have come. So yes, these type, like the pit bull, the poodle, I'm maxing those. It is a solo. I'm not a fan of the corgi format where you don't get paid off until you make finals, even when, and the advance rate isn't like tremendous. I think the second round is 1 of 10. But I will probably throw the bullet in there just because it is $5. Now, if that's a $50 tournament, I probably won't. Last year, and it wasn't even, you had to wait till finals. The tournament that Meg had top 5 finish in, won $10K, was the $75. What was it? Bulldog. I did my $75 single entry as well, and I advanced. I was number 1 in my pod, blew it out of the water by 150 points, whatever. Didn't get any money because I lost week 15 from that. And to me, I do look at it from an ROI standpoint. Like, yes, that adds more money to the final. So Meg, you're welcome. But the reality is, I'd rather just, even if it's just getting my money back. Just real quick before, yes, Hartman, yeah, Bulldog, absolutely. That's what it was. The way I look at, people talk about advance rate, things like that. And I've said this before in a few streams, but I look at it that whether it's, you talk about the weeks 1 through 14, the 2 who get to the playoffs, whether it's the week 15, week 16 pod luck, I look at those 3 different things: 1 through 14, week 15, week 16. We're playing qualifiers. We're getting a ticket for the next round. And it's nice to get, so, if you finish in top 2, then you have a free shot for the next round to get a little bit of a payday, plus a ticket to the next round. And then if you, in week 16, you get an even bigger payday, and then a ticket to the next, a ticket, qualifying ticket for the finals and the big prize. That's the way I kind of look at it, just coming from the DFS. landscape. And so I don't really love that we go through 14 weeks and we don't get any payout, especially on a high dollar thing. Now for a single entry $5, you want to do a tournament like that, I'm fine. But yeah, just not in general a fan of not getting paid anything until finals. Just my take on it, my thought process. I do think total ROI matters. I understand you want to have some tournaments where you add some more money to the finals, but those aren't my favorite types. But these other ones, like particularly the ones with really good advance rates, you know, we're seeing with the Hound Dog, the Pug, German Shepherd, these single entries that are out there. Yeah, I'm playing all those. I'm not going to max every puppy. I don't even know if I'm going to max the BBM. Like 25 in right now. We'll see what I get to. You know, I'm going to max a super flex puppy. I had a 112, 115. Not sure what I ended up with the first puppy because I'm still finishing up a couple slows from that. So I'm not going to max every tournament, but definitely these smaller field ones with the good advance rates. So I'm gonna end the stream now, but appreciate everyone joining me for the 3 drafts. Not sure when the next one will be, sometime later this week. I do, tonight we have Andrew and Justin doing their BBM and some strategy. Tomorrow, the DraftKings shows, Fred and Tyler. Wednesday, we have Jeopardy. Andrew's going to have his show as well. Nick, good seeing you, my man. Absolutely, you win the flex. That's my strategy as well. So Jeopardy, I'm on versus Justin Herzig. That should be a great one. And then Andrew has a show as well. I'm not sure who he's going to have on as guest. I won't be on that one this week. Thursday, Sibling Showdown. Friday, Meg has Friends with Best Ball. Can't remember who she has this week. I'm sure I'll do at least one more stream this week, maybe 2. We'll have to figure out what works, but yeah, I will keep an eye out on our socials and of course on YouTube. Hit that subscribe button. Let yourself be known when the next one of these is coming out. And thanks again everyone for joining me, and I will see you next time.